Now today we're going over every fuse and relay location for the Honda S2000. This will most likely be the last video of the S2000. I've had it here for roughly a year and a half. Maybe I put 700 miles on this vehicle. Unfortunately, I just don't have the room to keep it because I do want to move on to something else and someone else can really thoroughly enjoy it. Now underneath the hood we have two fuse and relay locations. There is an auxiliary unit on the driver's side and also the main one on the passenger side. Now you may still have the sticker on here, but nonetheless, let's quickly go over what we have. So let's first remove the cover and see what we have. Now, if you do need a guide on how to test relays, I've done a number of videos on how to test them. I'll include a card right now. Just click on it. Very, very easy to do. So right off the bat, let's start with the top left corner, and then we'll just move around in a clockwise rotation. Now again, starting on the top left, this is the condenser fan relay. The next one over is the radiator fan relay. So take a look at the cooling fans. You'll notice that you have two of them. The one on the driver's side is for the condenser. In other words, when you turn on the air conditioner, this fan should spin. And then the radiator fan kicks on when the vehicle warms up. Okay, so condenser fan relay and radiator fan relay. Next one over is the AC compressor relay. So when you turn on the AC inside the vehicle, this engages the clutch on the AC compressor. Right here we have the ELD, or the electronic load detector. It's not a relay, but nonetheless, if you're curious what this is, I've done a video on this already. On the bottom at the 6 o'clock position, we have the headlight relay number 1. So this is for the passenger side headlight. Above that, you have headlight relay number 2. So that is for the driver's side. And then directly above that is the horn relay. And then if you look at the relay above that one, we have the blower motor. Okay, now before we move over to the fuses, I will list everything in the description box as well. So if you need a guide, you want to copy, paste, take a picture on your phone, whatever, you'll have a clear guide there as well. So let's just knock this out quickly. Here on top, we have a 20 amp that's used for the condenser fan motor and also for the AC compressor clutch. This is a 40 amp that is used with the ignition switch. This is a Big Sucker 100 amp for battery and power distribution. This is a 10 amp for the hazard warning lights. Going over to the right, this is a 30 amp used for the ABS modulator unit. Here we have a 15 amp that's used for the data link connector and also for the main relay. Over to the right of that is a 10 amp, again that's used for the ABS modulator unit, the brake lights, cruise control, the ECM or the vehicle's computer, and also the horn. And then to the right of that we have another 20 amp for the ABS modulator unit. Directly below we have a 20 amp that is used for the gauge assembly, the high beam indicator light, and the left or the driver's side high-low beam. To the left of that is for the passenger side headlight high-low beam. This is a 20 amp used for the radiator fan motor. And then we have a 40 amp for the blower motor inside of the cabin. This is a 20 amp that's used for the left convertible top motor. Now this is a 30 amp that's used with a number of fuses inside the cabin that you'll see shortly. This is a 40 amp that's used with two fuses again inside the cabin, really for the window motors. And lastly, this is a 20 amp for the right or the passenger side convertible top motor. So that takes care of everything at this location. Let's move over to the auxiliary unit. Now starting here on the top right hand side is a 20 amp for the rear window defogger. Now this is a 2000 model year. I do not have a rear window defogger. Nonetheless, I still have the 20 amp fuse. Directly below that is a 70 amp that is used for the electronic power steering control unit. And then below that is a 60 amp for the air pump electric current sensor. That's something I did a video a few months ago if you need a guide on that. So that does it for underneath the hood. Now underneath the dash inside the cabin, so you have a lot going on here. Let me see if I can get a good screenshot, and let's just knock these out. So here on the bottom right, we have the tail light relay. And to the left of that is a relay for the starter, something I did a video on how to test before. This is a relay for the turn signals and also for the hazards. So I'm going to start on the top left-hand side. It's a little tight in here, hard to see, but nonetheless, I think we'll be okay. So this is a 7.5 amp that is used for the intermittent wiper control. Below that, we have a 15 amp for the windshield washer motor and the convertible top switch. Then we have two blank spaces that are not used. And then we come to a 10 amp. Now this is used for the accessory power socket and also for the audio unit. Then we have a 20 amp. This is the power window master switch, the windshield wiper motor. Now we have a 7.5 amp that is used for the turn signal and hazard relay. And then we have a 15 amp. Now there's a lot going on here. If you need a guide, just search my page. I've done a lot of videos on almost everything listed here. So here we go. Air control solenoid valve, the alternator, charging system light, cruise control unit, the ELD unit, evap bypass solenoid valve, evap canister vent shut valve, evap canister purge valve, primary and secondary oxygen sensors. And then we have a 7.5 amp for the reverse lights, the electronic power steering control unit, the gauge assembly, and the convertible top control unit. This is a 15 amp for the ignition coils, a 7.5 amp for the engine start switch, and then we have a 15 amp and a 10 amp. Now these two are used for the airbag system. This is a 15 amp for the keyless door lock control unit and also for the trunk opener. This is a 7.5 amp for the vehicle's computer, again gauge assembly, the immobilizer, or in other words the alarm indicator light, and the convertible top control unit. This is a 7.5 amp for the ceiling and also for the trunk light. Now this is a rather busy fuse. It has a lot of responsibilities, so here we go. 10 amps for the audio or the radio unit light, cruise control main switch light, the front parking lights, hazard warning lights, the heater control panel lights, license plate light, the convertible top switch light, the radio remote switch light, so that's the radio control to the left of the steering wheel, and the rear side marker lights along with the tail lights. Then we have a 15 amp for the audio or the radio unit. This is a 7.5 amp for the vehicle's computer and the fuel injection main relay. 7.5 amp heater control panel and the recirculation control motor. This is a 7.5 amp for the ABS modulator unit, power mirror actuator, 20 amp for the passenger side window motor, and a 20 amp for the driver's side window motor. And then there are just 3 relays left. We have the air pump relay, which I've done a video on, that lives on the driver's side underneath the front bumper. And then 2 relays that live right next to the main relay. The IG2 relay, which is part of the ignition switch among other things, and the accessory power socket relay. Now I know it's a lot of information, so once again, check out the description box. Everything will be listed there. And you know, these cars are getting older. This one is 22 years old, 171,000 miles. It's an awesome car. I really wish I can keep it. Unfortunately, I just don't have the room. And here in the Northeast, if you want to rent out a garage, you're talking $2,000, $2,500 for like 1,000 square feet. It's that expensive. So you can go to another home and you know, someone can really enjoy it. And we'll move on to something else. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.